Hello, good morning students. So today we are going to start the module 7. So this basically involved different applications of Ampere circuit. So previous class we have derived a relation between current passing through a wire and line integral equation of magnetic field around the wire. Okay. Line integral vector B dot dl equals mu 0 times the current enclosed by the closed path around the current carrying wire. Okay, this was the relation between magnetic line integral of magnetic field and the current passing through the wire. Okay, so today we will see it has so many applications actually. So we will come across different applications of Ampere circuit law today. So this was a relation. Okay, line integral vector B dot dl is equal to mu 0 times total current enclosed by the path. Usually we in an abbreviation form we write like this: I enclosed. This includes all the current passing through the closed path. You can take any closed path around the wire, then this will be always true. Okay. So we will use that particular theorem or law to find the magnetic field with different wire geometry. Like a solenoid, you know what is a solenoid? Okay, a long wire wound in the form of a circle, number of circles, or it is a form of collective coils. You can see a single current is passing through all the turns. Okay. So a magnetic field you can create in the space. So magnitude of the magnetic field you can find using Ampere circuit law. So we will see how that is done. So similarly, we will also see magnetic field due to toroid. So toroid is again a geometrical construction using wires, which has so many numerous applications in that is science and technology. So we will also find magnetic field due to toroid. Okay, so because of its important application, using Biot and Savart law, finding magnetic field is too tough. But using Ampere circuit law, one can easily find magnetic field in such geometries. So let us see one by one. First, starting with the solenoid. So we have a solenoid, long solenoid. The number of turns. We assume that the turns contained in unit length is small enough. That means in 1 meter length there are n number of turns. Small n means number of turns per unit. So its unit will be turns per meter, you can say, or turns per centimeter length. Suppose you have x length, so you will get the total number of turns by multiplying with x and n. Okay, so that will give you the total turns. This is a typical methodology in magnetic circuits. So anyway, small n is the number of turns per unit length. Okay. So, for as far as a solenoid is concerned, we have outside, we have inside. Okay. So let us find the magnetic field outside the solenoid first. How we will find? Okay. So for finding the magnetic field outside, we take a closed path. Or Ampere cyclical theorem means a closed path anyway. So that closed path is taken outside. Here is our coil, and we are interested to find the field any point inside this closed path. Our closed path is a rectangular path. Any path you can take. Now we take a rectangular path PQRS with a length L one side. The length of the side is L. This side can be anything, small x, small y, anything like that. Assume a closed path PQRS with a side length small l. Okay. And we have the Ampere's law, B dot integral B dot dl is equal to mu 0 I. For this closed path, inside this closed path there is no current. I enclosed is actually the current passing through the closed path. For this case, there is no current through the closed path. So I enclosed is obviously 0. So what happens to the equation then? Integral B dot dl will be equal to mu 0 times 0. So this leads to B dot dl is equal to 0, or you get a B is equal to 0. That means there is no field inside it, or there is no field outside the solenoid. So that is the conclusion. So we conclude that magnetic field produced by a long solenoid outside will be 0. That means outside involve only this area, central area. Okay, you cannot take the edges. At the edges there will be obviously magnetic. So you cannot count the edges as the outside field, only the interior. That is why we assume that the solenoid is very lengthy. Then only we can get such a result. That means for a long solenoid, in the case of a long solenoid, this region will be devoid of any magnetic field. Okay, free of any magnetic field. So in that case, B will be 0. So this is the first case, outside the solenoid. Next, let's take inside the solenoid. Okay, that means any point inside. So we again have a closed path PQRS with the same length L. Okay, so what happens to the magnetic field? We have the Ambier-Circuit theorem, and for an Ambier-Circuit theorem, the closed path here is PQRS. So this is the PQRS closed path. Now, what about I enclosed here? I enclosed means the total number of current passing through the closed path. So that means the number of loops are there. Okay, every loop penetrates the plane of PQRS. Okay, every loop penetrates. Okay, single ring you take, current is penetrating here. Next loop, current is penetrating here. Next loop, current is penetrating into the plane. So that means so many current lines are penetrating the PQRS plane. And you know already there are smaller number of turns per unit length. So how many turns will be there in L length? Because this is L length. So within this length, small L, there will be N into L times turns. Okay, or you can say there will be N into smaller number of wires passing through the closed path PQRS. Okay, this is nothing but the number of wires, number of current carrying wires passing through this closed path. So that many numbers into current. Current through a single wire is I. So current through NL number of wires will be N into small l into I. So what happens? The total current enclosed by the closed path PQRS become N into small l into I. So this side we got as N into L into capital I. Okay. So what about the left hand side? Actually our interest is to find the magnet. So here terms are explained. Small n is the number of turns per unit length, and small l is the length of the solenoid taken that correspond to the side of the loop PQRS, and the n into L is the number of turns in L. Okay, so now let us go to the other side. What about integral B dot dl? Integral B dot dl we have to take on all sides. We have PQRS rectangle path. So I will take the PQRS. We can split up into 4 segments. We have PQ here, QR here, RS here, and SP here. So you split the integral into 4 components. Okay, integral PQ, integral QR, integral RS, and the integral SP. So let us evaluate one by one. Then now it is very easy to evaluate. What happens for the length of PQ? You can see this is PQ. For PQ, magnetic field is like this, and PQ, DL is like this. So that means B and DL are perpendicular to each other. That means B dot DL becomes 0. Because you know B dl cos theta is B dl cos 90, cos 90 0. So the first term becomes 0. What about the second term? Integral B dl. So that is inside it. So here B and DL are parallel, so you cannot take it as 0. So we retain it. B dot dl is not 0. What about the third term PQRS? Here B is like this and DL is like this. They are mutually perpendicular. So due to obvious reason, B dot dl becomes 0. And what about the fourth term? SP, again you can see outside already we proved that there is no magnetic field. So obviously the fourth term must be 0 since B is equal to 0. So finally our integral PQRS becomes simply integral QR dl. Okay. So what happens next? So integral PQRS is equal to integral QR dl. But you know inside the core, inside the solenoid, magnetic field is constant. So it is not integrated. So we take it outside. So we get the vector B into integral dl. Okay. Since they are in the same direction, you can avoid the vector notation because B dot dl cos 0. Okay. So you can even take it as B dl. So what happens? dl, summation of dl will be L, total length. So integral dl is L. Vector notation we removed because angle is 0. So cos 0 is 1, so we can simply write BDL. So now left hand side is BL and right hand side we already got. So we get B dot dl is equal to mu 0 times. So N L into L. Because this one we proved in the earlier slide and currently we proved this. Integral PQRS B dot dl is equal to BL. So you now see equating BL with mu 0 n small l I, LL cancel. So finally you get a magnetic flux density along the axis of the coil. Okay, magnetic flux density along the axis of this solenoid become mu 0 times small n u. But mu 0 obviously you know it is a permeability of the free space, and small n is the number of turns per unit length. This should not be confused with number of turns per unit length, and I is the total current passing through the wire. Okay, suppose this core is filled, the inside is filled with some magnetic material of permeability, some mu. So this must be removed, mu 0 must be removed and the mu must be substituted. If there is no magnetic material, simply free space, then you can go along with mu 0. Okay, so once with a simple process, we got the magnetic flux density along the axis of a long solenoid without using Biot Savart. Okay. Even by using Biot and Savart you can prove it, but that is a lengthy method, whereas this is a very brief formula. That is the advantage of Ambier circuit. Next is a toroid. As you know, toroid is a circular structure made with solenoid. If you have a long solenoid, okay, now suppose you bend down a long solenoid in the form of a circle, you get a toroid. Very simple. Okay, if you straighten it, you get a solenoid. Once you bend down a solenoid in a circular form, you get a toroid. There are so many applications in many technologies. So that is why it is involved. Let us see the magnetic field of a toroid, because there are so many different spaces. Outside the toroid is very important. Outside means here, and within the toroid, that means here. Okay, so there is a portion here, and that is inside the toroid, that means the inside portion, this portion. So three different sections, magnetic field is calculated differently. So let us see one by one, okay, how it is calculated. First of all, outside the solenoid. So we have a point P which is outside. So let us assume an imaginary closed path because we want to calculate line integral. So imaginary closed path. So this running through outside and your coil is inside. So this toroid is inside. So how we will calculate the Ambier circuit for this particular closed path? Okay. So how we will do it? You know, as per Ambier circular law, you know that total current enclosed is taken as I. But here, the total current enclosed is equal to 0. Why this is happening? The reason you can explain with a separate figure. Suppose this is your solenoid. If you cut the solenoid along the horizontal plane, and then you will get a current structure like this. You can see through one turn current is entering, going down, to the other turn current is coming up, to the other turn current is going in. Cross marks all show current is going down and the dots show current coming out. Okay, so this is our closed path. So what does it mean? It means that the total current enclosed by the closed path becomes 0, because number of current going down is equal to number of current coming out. So the sum of all the current becomes 0, because you know we are taking algebraic sum of all currents as we studied in the last class. Okay, so total current becomes 0 because of this spirit. Because I hope that this is clear. This diagram will make you clear why the current is becoming 0. Because total up current is equal to total down current. So total enclosed current becomes 0. That means total current becomes 0. If you see the slide, the cross-sectional slide which I showed you will make it clear how the current is becoming 0. So because of the reason, what happens? The total current becomes 0. So what happens? The magnetic field also becomes 0. magnetic field also. So, okay. So this is so you can say that magnetic field outside a toroid is B out. You can write it as B out is equal to 0. Okay, now come to within the toroid. That means at this point, any point here within the this dumbbell shape. It's called dumbbell actually, dumbbell shape. Something like the vada which we make in our kitchen. So, that is called a dumbbell shape. And this is coming inside, and P is any point inside. And we assume a closed path. Again, we have ambient circular law. But obviously, you know, current enclosed by this closed path is again 0. But because there is no current going down or coming up to this area, so total current is 0. So what we get? So we get that total magnetic field here is 0. Okay, B inside is or B within is also. Now come to the case which is inside. Okay, you consider some point inside, any point inside. So suppose you consider a point on this line, and you take the line integral of magnetic field along this line. Okay. Okay, same. Procedure is same. Any point inside. Okay, remember the first case was point outside here, second case was point here, and third case is point here. Within the or inside the solid. Again, we assume a closed path like this, line integral below dl or mu 0 across. So what happens here? Here you must go very cautiously, carefully. There are number of current crossing this area, isn't it? There are all up currents. The number of currents coming up. You can take all these cross marks. These need not have to be taken because these are current outside the curve, outside the closed path. We need to consider only currents inside the curve. These are all the current inside the curve, inside the closed path. These are all the current outside the closed path. So we never bother about the current outside the closed path. We only bother about current inside the closed path as per the ambient circuit. How many currents are there? We can easily find. We know there are n turns per unit length. So total length will be 2 pi r. Okay, if the radius, this is r radius. So total length will be 2 pi r. Radius, this radius is smaller. Okay, keep in mind, not this radius, inner radius. So total current will be then equal to 2 pi r times n, because small n is the number of turns per unit length, and we have how much length? 2 pi r length. So 2 pi r and n is the total number of currents. So number of currents multiplied by current through 1 wire. That will give you total enclosed current. I hope this is clear. Small n is number of turns per unit length. Total length is 2 pi r. So number of turns per unit length into 2 pi r will give you total number of turns contained in this closed path, and multiply by current through 1 wire. So we get a total current enclosed by the closed path. So this I enclosed we can remove now. So that is removed and we substituted I enclosed by n into 2 pi r into I. Okay. So right hand side we cleared. So now see what about the left hand side? As you know, inside a long solenoid magnetic field is constant. So with that physics in our mind, you can take the B outside because B is constant. So B in integral dl is equal to mu 0 times n 2 pi r. Okay. What about integral dl? Integral dl will be equal to total length. Okay, total length. So total length is actually 2 pi r. 2 pi r. So we get B into 2 pi r is equal to mu 0 times n 2 pi r I. Okay. So both sides there is 2 pi r, so I can be removed. When that is removed, we get a magnetic flux density for a toroid is equal to mu 0 n I. So this make it clear that both for a long solenoid and for a toroid, magnetic flux density inside within the coil is constant. So this is an easy technique to create heavy magnetic field for various applications. There are numerous applications for toroids in different science and technology. For example, in nuclear fusion reaction, high temperature plasma is containing such a toroid, okay, that is called magnetic confinement, because no material can be used as a vessel because temperature is so high. So we cannot use any steel or copper material because vessel will be easily melt down. But whereas magnetic vessel, magnetic vessel, plasma can be easily confined. So which find application in fusion reaction and many such high temperature experiments, plasma experiments. Okay. And there are so many other electronic applications for toroids, so which you can easily get from different books. Okay, so very interesting. Toroid is a very interesting structure to create a constant magnetic field using steady current. Here is a very interesting assignment linked with toroid. A toroidal solenoid has inner radius R1, which is 15 centimeter, and outer radius R2, that is 18 centimeter. Okay. The toroid has 250 turns, okay, windings, and carries a current of 8.5 ampere. Okay, 8.5 ampere. So current is very heavy. What is the magnitude of the magnetic field at the following distances from the center of the torus? Toroid is also called torus. Okay. At a distance 12 centimeter, at a distance 16 centimeter, and at a distance 20 centimeter. So these values are given very wisely. Okay, you must take care of. 12 centimeter is a place which is within the solenoid, and you must use your ambient circuit current. You have 3 cases. Okay, so carefully study the cases, then only you have to do it. Don't blindly do the problem. That may lead to erroneous results. Okay, so do for 12 centimeter, find out what is that point. Is it applicable? Whether magnetic field can exist or not? You must be carefully understand, investigate. Similarly, take the case of 16 centimeter and take the case of 20 centimeter. So anyway, you have given a clue here. I will not tell you what is this clue. Clue is given here. Do it as an assignment. Here there is another question. A toroidal solenoid has an inner radius of 12 centimeter and an outer radius of 15 centimeter. It carries a current 1.5 ampere. How many equally spaced turns must it have so that it will produce a magnetic field of 3.75 millitesla at points within the 13.5 centimeter from its center? Okay, here 14 centimeter is given. You don't consider it. You consider 13.5. This 14 is given wrongly. So this question is also very interesting. This is 3.75 millitesla. Okay, milli means 10⁻³ Tesla. So you can also do this problem very wisely. Here you have to find what is called number of turns. So I hope you can do it very easily if you properly watch the video. So do both the problems. Okay. Now in magnetostatics, we deal with a number of different types of currents. So currents are like this. We have line current or linear current. This is the current actually flowing through straight thin wires. Such a current flowing through straight thin wires are called line current. Okay, and this is usually measured in the unit of ampere. That is a typical current that we talk about. And there are other current that is called surface current density. This is the current flowing through a thin surface, actually, and it is usually measured in ampere per meter. We will talk in detail about this in later slides. And there is another current that is called volume current density. This current is flowing through a space, okay, in a volume, and usually measured in ampere per meter. Okay, so this way there are 3 different type of current configuration. These are relevant in different physical situations. Okay, so we must be very thorough about all the 3 different type of currents. Let's see one by one. First is line current density. So this arises, as I told you, arises when the conductor is a thin straight wire, okay, whose other dimensions are not important. Okay, that is a thin wire whose length is only important. So then you define it as quantity of current flowing across a point in unit time through a conducting wire. So here other dimensions are not involved. We need a point on the wire, and the total amount of charge flowing per unit time is measured. Then that is given in ampere. So okay, so if you take a thin wire, then any point you count, and then the total charge crossing through unit time through this point is measured. Okay, and it is of course applicable in fires, and we measured in amperes. In ampere usually we measure. And the second one is surface current density. And you know, for a surface current density, we take thin surfaces or wire strip like this. For a wire strip, it's one dimension. Okay, it's important. Its width is very important. Too long wire with a given width, and quantity of charge flowing across unit length per unit time through a planar conducting wire strip is called a surface current density. If you know the current, suppose the current flowing through the wire is I, suppose the width is say W, then surface current K you can write as I by W. W is the width and I is the current. So surface current density will be measured in the unit of ampere per meter, because current flowing through unit length. Okay, surface current density can be defined as current flowing through unit length or charge flowing across unit length per unit. Both are correct. So this is applicable for wire strips like this, wire strips, not like thin wires. Okay, so this is surface quantity. And third one is volume current density, which is the volume quantity of charge flowing normal to unit area in unit time. Okay. So again here volume is very important. Volume, the dimension volume comes into the picture. A copper wire is a cylindrical copper wire. Now you take the total volume current. So the entire volume of this wire is very important. It's not all dimensions are important. Okay, length, breadth. Here in the case of cylindrical wire, this radius is important. So not only in conductors, even in space there are volume current. For example, you take the cathode ray tube, there is CRT tube at one side and the screen on the other side. In that case, current is moving through the space, so that current is called space charge. Where you can talk about the volume current, for example. Okay, so such current is measured in the unit of ampere per meter square. Ampere per meter. So current flowing across unit area in a direction perpendicular to surface. That current is called volume current, denoted with the letter J. So we need to get a little bit more in-depth idea about volume current, how it is related to the current, line current or linear current. There is in fact a relation between line current I and volume current J, because we will mostly use in many situations we will come across both J and I. So anyway, current density is defined as the total amount of current flowing across a unit area in a direction normal to surface, and it is represented like this. Okay, line current I is equal to surface integral J dot d, where J is the volume current and d is a small area. So this is the definition, and let us investigate how this expression is obtained. It's also very important. Okay, let's investigate how this is obtained. For getting, let's consider a conductor like the previous slide. We have a copper block, a cylindrical block like that. Take a small filament along the length with an area cross section dA. Okay, dA is a perpendicular direction. dA perpendicular means perpendicular, because the surface, the cross section may be inclined like this. Suppose the cross section inclined with a cross section area A. Then area component perpendicular to this is taken as A perpendicular. Okay, and they are related with the notation. Okay, A perpendicular will be equal to A cos theta. If the angle between the planes are theta, then A perpendicular will be equal to A cos theta. We can easily prove it. If you know the angle, if this is theta, then this A perpendicular. Okay, you can take it as a shadow. Suppose you have a plate, a circular plate like this. If you light up a torch from left hand side, you will get a shadow on the wall. So shadow's area will be cos theta of this area. This is the actual plate. Okay, elevated plate is the actual plate. You light up a torch from the left hand side, you will get a shadow on the screen. So shadow area will be equal to actual area multiplied by cos theta. Theta is the angle unit. So these two terms will come in our case also. Let us see. In our case, suppose current is flowing across this surface along this wire. Then suppose dI current is passing through this small area dA perpendicular. Then surface current density, volume current density will be known as current through this surface dI by surface area dA by dA. Okay. So this is an elementary current dI passing through elementary area dA. So you can write dI is equal to all are vectors. Okay, because we have the direction. But dA perpendicular has no direction. So J dot dA. You can rearrange it, you get dA is equal to J vector J dot dA. And what is A perpendicular? A perpendicular is equal to A cos theta. Already we discussed. Okay, A perpendicular is equal to A cos theta. So let us take these two expressions now. We have J now, and again dA is equal to J in J perpendicular. And so I will be equal integral J dot dA. Okay, and already we have written A perpendicular is equal to A cos theta. It's very obvious. Okay, component is a cosine, direction cosines you can take. So let us remove now the dA. Okay, because dA we know that is dA cos theta. Okay, so now what happens? If you take this has different components, vector J, dA cos theta, then you can see that this is a dot product of J and the vector D. Understand? So you can rewrite J dA cos theta as vector J dA. Vector J dA. Okay. So what happens? So you can write that line current, that is also vector, is equal to surface integral J dot D. Surface integral J dot D. What is the surface? Surface through which the current is passing. So this is a relation. This way we prove that how I and J are related. Okay, this is volume current density and this is line current density. Using this expression, you can modify the Ampere's law that we studied. We had an Ampere's law, vector B dot D is equal to mu 0 times. Okay, and I just we derived that I is equal to surface integral 0. Okay, let us replace this I here. Okay, inside it. So what happens? This I is removed and integral 0 d is placed instead of I. Okay, so we got this kind of a relation. But one side is line integral, other side is surface integral. We can apply a familiar equation which you studied in your vector calculus, that is called Stokes theorem. In Stokes theorem, you studied that a line integral of any function, okay, vector f dot dA, you can easily convert into surface integral using this equation. Line integral of f dot dA is equal to surface integral of curl of f dot dA. This is the famous Stokes theorem. Here also we have a line integral. Okay, vector B dot dA. This is a line integral. Understand? You can convert into surface integral using this equation. Then we can simplify this equation. So let us convert this line integral into surface integral. How we did it? Simply instead of f you substitute b. F is substituted b. Here also b. Okay. So our left hand side has now become surface integral. Okay. So what we can do? Yes, left hand side we removed and we put it as surface integral is equal to mu 0 times 0. Now both sides it is surface integral. Other things are same. So you can equate the integrand. What is the integrand here? Integrand is actually one side it is del cross b. Integrand means the function which is being integrated. So left hand side is del cross b and right hand side it is mu 0 j. Understand? Other things are same. You can equate it mutually. When you equate, we get what? Del cross B is equal to mu 0 j. Curl B is equal to mu 0 j. Okay, so this expression is in fact called a differential form of Ampere's cycle. It's called a differential form of Ampere's cycle because del cross will give you some differential. Okay, del means what? Dou by dou xi cap, dou by dou yj cap, okay, dou by dou z k cap cross. Vector B again is also bi cap, bj cap, bk cap. So when you take the products, what we get? We get a differential form. Understand? So that is why this is called a differential form of Ampere's cycle. So this is a mathematical form. We can linguistically define it like this. Literally we can define it like this. Curl of magnetic flux density around a volume current is. Alright, this is a volume current and the curl of B around this. Curl of magnetic flux density around a volume current density J is equal to mu 0 times the volume current density crossing through the surface. Okay, if this is the J, I you can replace with J as we have seen in case of a space charge, okay, volume charge. So curl B will give you mu cross B. Or in other words, we can say that whenever there is a J along any space, because it is a space charge, volume charge, so that J will be accompanied with a curling B. Understand? When there is a current, there is a corresponding curling magnetic field. So this gives you a real physics of a current carrying coil. A J creates a curling magnetic field. That is the meaning of this equation. Okay. So and this is called a differential form of Ampere's cycle. Okay, this is another form. The previous one was integral form. Integral vector B dot dl is equal to mu 0 I is the integral form of Ampere's cycle. So, and this is the corresponding differential form. Both are giving you the same physics, but in two mathematical. Okay, then this is the definition. You can memorize both the definition and the equation with a proper understanding of the physics of this. They indicate the current carrying wire and the magnetic field around the coil. Okay, so that is del cross B, and it is a vectorial equation. And same thing for a J, is a pictorial representation of the differential form of Ampere's cycle. Here J is indicated with space charge and a closed path will be taken around it. So curling B will be around it. Curling B will be around these currents. So many space charges going penetrating into the surface, and del cross B will be accessing around it. So I hope the idea is clear. And here is the question: find the magnetic field of an infinite uniform surface current K is equal to Kx. Okay, current is coming out of the plane of the screen. Keep in mind, K is a surface current which is coming out of the plane of the screen, shown in the x cap. Okay, x is in direction, y direction, and z upward. So current is flowing in the xy plane, and you are asked to find the magnetic field on both top and bottom of the sheet. This is infinite sheet. Okay, current is flowing along the entire xy plane. So what will be the magnetic field at the bottom, and what will be the magnetic field at the top? So this is a question given in your prescribed textbook, Greek people, and it is solved in the book. You can read that particular portion in the textbook and try to solve this question. Okay. So with this comments, I stop this class. Thank you all.